Welcome, my friends, spectators, and gladiators. This episode is brought to you from San Diego, but next week's episode will come from LA, the YouTube house. Welcome to another episode of Awakening Hercules.
So me, LP, and Obese Beast will be competing at an NPC show. Okay, so to find the shows that are actually locally held here in San Diego, about 10-15 minutes away from my house, which makes it really prime. The reason I'm actually doing this organization, I need to go to lindsayproductions.com, and I'm going to go down to the events. I'm going to scroll down to the June category, and so it looks to me like the competition will be held on June 11th, and it'll be called the IFBB NPC Southern California Championships. They always have interesting names for them. But there we go, guys. June 11th. If anybody wants to join up, that is it. You can go and sign up. It's $150 to enter per person, $100 for the NPC club membership, so it's gonna be $250 for each person. And legitimately, we would love to compete with you. It's gonna be super cool to have Beyond the Week family there. And I just want to make this this information available for everybody. I really like taking you guys through that full leg day last week, so I want to take you through a back bi day today, and it's going to be super fun, super awesome. I do have to worry about doing overhead movements, remember, because I have sort of a rotator cuff injury, so if you've ever had a rotator cuff injury or something like that, these could be good ideas for you to try exercises like this to not continue aggravating the rotator cuff, but still be able to hit the lats. So first exercise we're going to start with is a narrow grip seated cable row. Personally, even if my back is fine, even my shoulders are fine, this has always been my favorite exercise. It's a really easy exercise to start the lat pump. And once you start the lat pump, when you go through the rest of your exercises, you've already kind of activated how you want to contract your lats, and it makes it easier to kind of understand how to squeeze with your lats for the next couple of exercises. My biggest tip with this exercise is to think about pulling your elbows not only back behind you, but also down through the ground. Try to pull your elbows straight down beneath you, and that'll activate your lats a lot more. A lot of people feel this in the biceps, but they don't do that. So the next exercise on the agenda is T-bar rows. You can usually find some place to put a bar into a corner, and that's really all you need. There's also sometimes like handles and special machines that are just like T-rows, but each gym, of course, is gonna differ. You know, everyone has different equipment. Just make do with what you have. Now, a lot of people will use a handle to wrap it under the bar, and they'll grab the handle, but for this one, I actually just use an overhand and an underhand grip on the bar itself, and then I switch each set. That way we're hitting it symmetrically. But the purpose of this is the theme is to keep everything narrow and keep everything pushing down. When you're doing narrow, there's a lot less chance of your rotator cuff getting pushed in there. There's a lot less of a chance of an impingement happening in your shoulder. So for me, keeping it all narrow is making sure that my lats are being used, not my shoulders, not my chest, not my rotator cuff. So as I'm doing this exercise, I'm really concentrating on pulling my elbows down and also kind of sort of thinking about pulling them apart a little bit. Kind of thinking about holding a lat spread at the top of the contraction of the movement. That helps really light my lats up. And the final tip that I can give with this exercise is use 25-pound plates. Even if you have to use 8 or 9 or 10 of them, it's so much better than using 45-pound plates. It's not gonna look as cool and as vicious and savage, bro. But you're gonna have more range of motion because you're gonna have about an extra 2.5 inches to pull the bar up to your chest. I swear, this is a great exercise for anybody, even if you don't have any shoulder issues. It's just a strong, hardcore, free weight exercise to do. Okay, so this next exercise that I do is basically the same thing as a seated cable row. You might be thinking, like, isn't he just doing the same thing? It's just one of those isolateral machines that's a selectorized weight, and the way that the angles are set up is slightly different. You can do essentially the same movement, but on a different exercise machine or a different company's machine, and it'll be a completely different exercise. This one, for example, has swiveling handles, and as well as the handles being a little bit farther apart. The thing I concentrate here is to try to keep my elbows in, not try to let them you know, externally rotate as I'm doing the row, because that starts to irritate my shoulders. So I try to keep them really tight into the body, really narrow, and squeeze them all the way back as far as I can, really, really clenching my lats up and really trying to control the movement. And I'm gonna do this for 4 sets as well. So everything was 4 sets, 4 sets, 4 sets. We did a total of 12 sets on back. And now we're moving on to biceps. And then after biceps, we'll move on to abs. Every single biceps day is different, but today's is gonna be pretty traditional, pretty bro-ish. We're gonna start with the easy curl bar. And I'm aiming for 16 reps on the first sets, then 14 reps, then 12 reps. I start with the middle grips, the very most narrow grips. And the strategy when I'm using the narrow grips is to completely let my elbows in front of my rib cage and then stand up straight, and it sort of locks them into like an arm blaster, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger arm blaster machine. You've seen those, right? From there, you're really just isolating your bicep, keeping your elbows tucked really tight inwards and backwards into your rib cage, and making sure to squeeze the hell out of your biceps. this should be able to make it so that you can isolate your biceps really easily. Each set I switch from narrow grip to wider grip, and obviously the easy curl makes that very easy for you to find out where to grab and whatnot. Basically the idea here is to give some variety to the angles that the bicep is working at to be able to hit the different heads of the bicep. And when you're using the wide grip, again, you're gonna try to keep your elbows back, but this is gonna be different for everyone. Some people like to pull their elbows back as they curl. That's actually called a drag curl. Some people like to keep them in one spot. Just the most important thing is don't push them forward, don't swing them forward. For me, that would hurt my shoulder, but for you, you're gonna end up using more shoulders than you are biceps. Obviously, drop the weight if you need to. It's not a competition on weight here. It's about feeling the muscle contract. So I'm gonna do 3 sets narrow, 3 sets wide, and then I move on to my last bicep exercise for a little bit of the forearms. Now the last bicep exercise that we're gonna end with is the hammer curl with dumbbells. And this is simply just to finish off hitting the biceps a little bit, but also give the forearms just a little bit of work. Make sure that you're tucking your elbows in as well as back, and do not let your elbows move forward as you're performing this curl. Squeeze tight as hell at the top. When you get to the top of the curl, squeeze your forearms, feel your forearms. So a real tight squeeze at the top, and then a very controlled, slow negative with your elbow not moving at all, really feeling your forearms and your biceps hold back the weight as you lower it slowly. I did this for 5 sets, starting with 16, then 14, 14, then 12, and then 10 for the final set. And then I moved on to abs, and you guys are always wondering what I do for my abs. I do abs every other day. And very simply right now, because I can't really suspend myself in my elbows because of my shoulder, instead of doing like lower ab work, I'm doing my traditional plate held on the chest. I'm doing this on a lat pull down machine. You're basically tucking your feet under the machine and your knees over the pads that would usually hold your knees down while you're doing the lat pull down. And then you're just gonna hold a plate on your chest. It can be a 10, 25, 45, 35 pound plate, whatever weight you wanna use. You can even use 2 plates if you want to. And you're just gonna basically try to contract your abs at the very top and then slowly lower yourself down while using your abs to keep yourself slowly descending and tight. You wanna go down as far as it's comfortable for you, because if you go too far, you're gonna start feeling a little bit of pain in your back. If you're feeling pain in your back, then you're going too far, so don't go that far. I pretty much attribute all of my ab gains for the first 4 or 5 years of my lifting to this exercise. I did this exercise so many times. You can actually find this if you look up Perfect Abs Humorous Fitness. My split has changed up a bit because of the shoulder injury, so I've actually taken shoulder out of the equation, just hitting shoulders directly, because they get work through chest work and through back work. I'm getting my rear delta, I'm doing rows and whatnot. So anyways, what I'm doing is back and bi, chest and tri, and then a leg day. It's a very simple workout right now, but it's actually working really well. I'm feeling better than I've ever felt before. That workout went so much better than I thought it was gonna go, so much better than the last workouts have been going for the last couple of weeks. So I'm actually really stoked and really astounded because I got such a solid connection with my muscles and such a good pump. I wanna hear what you guys think after you try this workout. So as a lot of you guys know, I've been battling a little bit of an impingement injury, a little bit of a shoulder injury here that's keeping me from doing overhead movements as far as like benching overhead, pressing overhead, or rowing overhead. So I just really quickly want to go over 2 simple exercises that have been helping relieve a little bit of the pain, kind of keep my mobility, my flexibility there without actually forcing any more, impingement or any more tightness to the shoulder. The first one is very simple. Just take a chair or something that's about hip height. You're going to take the opposite hand, put that on top of it to lean onto, and then you're going to back up so that your arm is basically just hanging freely down straight from your shoulder. Now, while trying to keep your shoulder loose, that's the best way I can think of putting it, just try to relax it, move your hand in a 360 motion, a little bit circles, just little tiny circles. Let it do that about 10 times and then switch the direction, go in the opposite direction. You're really not trying to force anything. You're trying to just let it loosely move around, let the shoulder move around in your socket. I always do this without weight, and then if I want to add something, I'll add like 2 to 5 pounds, but nothing heavy. This isn't like a shoulder hypertrophy exercise. It's just really to allow the muscles in the shoulder joint to move a little bit, have a little bit of flexibility, because if you just let them stay tight all the time, you don't use them because they're injured, then they're gonna get tighter, and then it's gonna be even harder for you to ever get range of motion back, and you're likely to injure them more. The other exercise is also with a chair. It's super simple as well. You're gonna put both your hands on the top of the chair this time, and then without stressing or tightening your shoulders at all, just back up slowly. Take tiny steps backwards until your arms are overhead. Again, try not to tense any of your muscles, especially for me with overhead movements. That's what's hurting, right? So I'm not trying to impinge or inflame anything. So I'm trying to keep them as loose as possible while backing up, and then I just hold that overhead pose for as long as I can. In addition to these exercises being good to keep the range of motion up and whatnot, it also, for me, just helps relieve some of the pain before I go into any sort of upper body day or after I finish an upper body day.
So my friends, I want to show you how Hercules cheats as a vegan.
As you guys know, one of my favorite meals is carne asada fries. So this looks very much like carne asada, right? Well, what I did is I got carne asada fries with guacamole and beans, but no carne asada, and then I made myself a little Beyond Meat and just put it on top. So it's basically the same damn thing. And because I'm trying to grow, I gotta eat big ass meals. So this is my cheat meal. Double carne asada fries, no carne. This is it. This is the last few days before I go up to LA for the YouTube house. I'm freaking so stoked about it. And I'm really stoked that my shoulder's been feeling a bit better before I actually go to the YouTube house and do the barbell brigade workouts and whatnot. I'm still not even close to 100%, but I've been able to get more range of motion. I've been able to do a little bit more on my chest days, on my back days, everything. As far as how my physique feels, I'm feeling big. I'm feeling very full. I'm feeling like I'm holding a little bit of water. I feel like I'm holding a little bit of fat, of course. These are all things that come with bulking. You know, you don't always feel like your most shredded self, of course. But I'm excited because we have, 4 to 6 weeks left to continue this bulk, to get as much size on me as possible, and then we start the cutting phase, and that is going to be immense. It's gonna be so much fun to show you guys how to do a contest prep while eating vegan, which really is so much easier than it sounds. In next week's episode, I'm going to be getting a very deep tissue massage. This one's actually much different than the one I got before, the full body massage. This one is much more oriented to athletes and bodybuilders, so we're gonna see how that is. I'm excited to bring you guys that. Thank you guys so much for showing up every few days to watch these videos, to support me. I really appreciate it, and hopefully next week I can bring you something very impressive and very interesting with the YouTube house. I'll see you in another episode of Awakening Hercules.